Thank you very much for that. And so in my intervention, I will be focusing on three very brief matters. So what is why is it happening, and what can be done? We have touched upon a lot about what is happening, and as my colleagues before me, Muhannad and Ubay, and I'm sure also Omar, will be talking about the situation today, in addition to what has been mentioned about the detentions and the documented torture that Al-Haq in several reports have been talking about in coordination with other civil society organizations, that it is something, unfortunately, of course, against international conventions that the PA has acceded to, is still ongoing in the different security forces apparatus and police forces in different detention centers and prisons. Also, one very interesting thing that we have been documenting throughout last year and this year is the crackdown on a cultural scene, where we have seen a lot of oppression against different cultural events, different cultural organizations that are also being shut down due to different excuses and justifications, and this is considered to be a higher threshold, and something that has not been very much seen from the Palestinian Authority forces in the past. It is something that we have seen systematically done by the Israeli occupation forces in different cities in the West Bank. So yes, the situation is ongoing. It is systematic. It is not new. The detentions, the silencing, the digital surveillances that the Palestinian Authority apparatuses actually do exercise against Palestinians, whether they're journalists, especially female journalists, and women human rights defenders and activists, in addition to political activists and political affiliates, whether it is specifically in the West Bank. What we see is against affiliates or sympathizers with Al-Jihad al-Islami or Hamas, etc. And also what we see in Gaza, again, it is a replicate, but on the different side of the basically the opposition. We see that a lot, specifically during, before, and after the period of elections in universities, where those are considered to be the most vital environments and most living environments in which political opinions and actions actually happen. So they are targeted by both the Palestinian Authority, unfortunately, and the occupation forces, the Israeli occupation forces. Now, the most important thing, I think, in my contribution is, why is this actually happening? Is this unique to Palestine, or is it something that, I think, in order for us to be able to discuss to be able to find solutions and think about what can be done and give proper recommendations, we need to understand exactly what are the root causes for this phenomena, which is the Palestinian Authority repression and oppression on Palestinians, so that even the viewer and the listeners would understand why is this happening. It does sound weird indeed. So basically, if we are trying in different advocacy campaigns around the world to put the words exactly that the situation in Palestine is such as a settler colonial situation, an apartheid situation, an occupation situation, where we use these different legal frameworks to show what is exactly is going on in Palestine. Now, a fundamental pillar of this logic of colonization is the creation of a native institution charged with controlling Palestinians in densely populated areas. This idea derives from many historical precedents that are not unique to Palestine, but rather from Africa to Southeast Asia, where colonial powers routinely invented and cultivated local authorities to sustain their rule. And this is exactly also what is happening in Palestine. It gives aid from foreign powers to maintain the status quo under this bigger system of domination, racial domination, apartheid, occupation, and colonization. So of course, the idea is to give this authority and put in its hands, which usually is traditional elites or people who are hungry for power, with power, and serve to mediate between the colonizer and the colonized, and to enforce the security, stability, and reduce the cost of the colonial bureaucracy and military operations. Now, of course, and this also develops, and we see that happening with local police or militia forces to ensure what they call public order and to protect this elite and this group of people from internal opposition. So we see these two powers that are dominating a specific, and of course we cannot put them in an equal position, that using different tools to suppress any forms of resistance. And this is what we're seeing in Jenin, in Nablus, in Gaza, in other places around Palestine. But what is unique about this is about Palestine, in comparison to other similar projects that were happening in a colonial context, is when the National Liberation Movement later joined into this creation and became a part of it through the interim agreement, the Oslo Accords that happened in early 90s. That is what is unique about the situation in Palestine in relation to this paradigm. So what we are seeing today is a new phenomena in that sense, but it is not isolated from this and what we have seen in other places. So this is very important to emphasize and understand so that we can try to move forward. Now, what can be done? My colleagues have touched upon many important things, but I think one of the most important things that we should be calling for is definitely to start calling things as they are. So understand the root cause of why the Palestinian Authority forces are doing what they're doing in oppressing the Palestinian people in their different actions and activities. And second, who are the parties that are actually supporting the Palestinian Authority in doing so, and what is the benefit of that, and the continuation of the status quo. Mainly the United States and the European Union are equally, maybe not equally at all times, but they are responsible for the continuation of what is happening, of actions happening by the PA. They're actually trained by US forces and others in how to use different techniques to control the Palestinian people and the Palestinian resistance. So calling it as it is and understanding it. And second, of course, to strive for elections for the Palestinian National Council and elections for the presidential elections in Palestine. These are definitely very important, in addition, of course, to the accountability and holding the Palestinian Authority forces accountable for the different violations that they commit. And thank you.